It's a brand new week on Your View. Welcome to the show. Hope you had a fabulous weekend. I am Morayo Afolabi Brand. As always, I never do this by myself. I have my lovely co-host here. Good morning. Ladies. You're in the corner today.
Yes, so that actually that song should just sing that
Jimmy
song
is usually on that corner. So what's up? I said she came late, so she had to stay there. Okay. Yeah. How you doing?
I'm fine. I was telling a friend yesterday that I really need to, get in life. Right, like all through the weekend, Morayo, I was here.
You work Monday to Sunday.
The thing is, I don't like it.
Uneasy lies the head that
the
wears
singles,
the crown.
get alive, please. We need you off the market quickly.
We have two different school of thoughts concerning that. You could either work your way while single and groove in marriage, or you could decide to groove while single and then work while married. I prefer to work while single and then groove while married.
Getting a life is not all about grooving, shower.
Okay, well, that's true. Yesterday, this weekend was really eventful and interesting for me. Started with Saturday, I was at Lagos Moms. It was a fantastic event, Morayo. I was taking notes. There are a lot of things that we need to be aware of as parents.
Can I have notes?
Yes, I would. I would share. It was impactful, and I was blessed able to moderate two panels that were loaded: healthy living and winning as a parent. Then yesterday we went to celebration, and I took time getting ready, so I missed the entire performance. Oh. Yes, I got there 6 o'clock just as the governor was leaving. So I think that we need to learn that our governor keeps to time, and it's a good thing to have. So whenever any events involves the governor of Lagos State, when they tell you it's 5, girl, be there by 5 because you would miss the entire show. So that was one thing for me. But one more thing. No, I need to announce this.
Let me jump to them. We'll come back to you. Hi, Yemi Adamuleko. How are you doing? Good to have you back.
Thank you very much. Weekend was good. On Saturday, my church had a walk for life.
Wow.
Walked down VI, and then we had coffee and body by pond. So it was a lot of fun.
Nice.
I mean, even after the walk, I think people still stayed in Muri Okola Park for an hour just dancing. There was a DJ and just dancing and working out. But it also showed just that when people struggle with exercise, if it can be made fun.
Yeah.
Muri Okola was packed, people just working out. I mean, Kathy was doing dance. So with Kathy dancing,
you've experienced that. Trust me. That's what
So it was really good. And a shout out to Mr. Ibrahim. I traveled about 2 weeks ago, met him at the airport. Says he sees me on Your View.
Oh, really?
And he bought me lunch. So
thank
you. Wow.
Thank you, Mr. Ibrahim.
On Your View as
you get free lunches. How are you doing, Jumzo?
Excellent and amazing. I've been, dealing with the bug since Friday, but I'm okay. I had a restful weekend. I have a week full of activities, but I'm grateful to God for life.
Honestly, we're talking about health. The Yoruba says, "No kolomo." It's like until you're sick, you now realize our health system, the level of our health. My kids have been in and out of the hospital. Diagnosis here with 3 hospitals. Just figure out what was wrong with them between Tuesday and now. They just got discharged yesterday. Even last night, I went for celebration to honor YK. And while I was there, I was getting calls from my help. I rushed back home, and my daughter's temperature shot up again.
Wow. I
had to rush her last night again. Wow. So, it's crazy. My mind is not totally here, but it's not been easy. So, when you have kids and they have to go through pain, I was saying they were piercing these kids like crazy all through. I was crying like a baby with them. As they were crying, I was crying. That's what I was saying, Mommy, sorry, baby, sorry. I was just like, what rubbish is this? Honestly, but we thank God, Sha.
Yeah.
We thank God for health.
Quick recovery.
They are better, but they're home. I'll still go home and check them place before they close the business. But today is World Food Day. It aims to achieve zero hunger by 2030. So we're going to try to cook for somebody that doesn't have access to food, or somebody who's less privileged today. Try to make a meal for somebody, maybe your security guard.
Or even buy for them if you cannot cook.
Or the woman down the street, or the woman that makes bully down the street. Just make her a nice bowl of rice. Just something. You never know.
I'm saying that if they don't even have the time to cook, just give them money to buy the food.
And we just hope that the government can concentrate on food security going forward. That's the reason the themes change year.
We're talking about that a bit later.
Yeah.
Let's take a break. When we come back, look at the front pages of the newspapers. Stay with us. We'll be right back. We're going to start with the Punch. We must borrow more to deliver infrastructure. Finance Minister. Wow. FG turns down loan requests from states. CBN keeping an eye on banks, says Emefiele. Picture here of Aqua United win 2017 Federation Cup. Beats Niger Tornadoes. Bailout scam. Fayose gives released commissioners and acting AG new cars. Attorney General new cars. Educational Minister rushes to the US for treatment but returns. Gunmen kill 3 NDLA men, steal guns in Kogi. Suspected herdsmen kill 6, raise houses in Plateau attack. Sergeant retired ASP arrested for robbery in Lagos hotel. Lawmakers enjoy free treatment at Aso Rock's presidency. Alaafin names Gani Adams 15th Ààrẹ Ọ̀nà Kakanfò. Fasheun Adebanjo congratulates OPC leader. Buhari AGF asked court to dismiss suit seeking Magus sacking. World Bank project SLF, Ohaneze, Middle Belt groups, others berate Buhari.
So we have a lot of even human angle stories, but this one that caught my attention is the Sergeant Yakubu Aigba, an ASP, Assistant Superintendent of Police, Obosa, former ASP, Obosa Augustine, and a taxi driver, Godwin George, that raided a hotel and took 50,000 naira and a laptop. They went in there actually pretending to be policemen that came to, you know, check on them, as in raid the place and see that things were going fine. But that was when they got to realize that they were armed robbers. And the question came to my mind that if you cannot trust a policeman anymore, where is security in the country?
Sad story.
I want to talk about the Ààrẹ Ọ̀nà Kakanfò Aláàfin of Ọ̀yọ́, you know, replacing the late MKO Abiola, who was the last Ààrẹ Ọ̀nà Kakanfò, with the OPC chairperson.
Generalismo.
Gani Adams, you know, with the title. Congratulations. I wonder why that title was left empty for
Interestingly, Senator Femi Okuromu was saying that he feels that Gani Adams was probably too young for that role, that it's usually for somebody a bit older, number one. Number two, said that specific title has had really, everybody that's held that title has ended badly.
Yes.
And they've never really had good ending.
Yes,
so
I've heard that.
He's a bit worried that, that people actually run away from it because of that.
The title? Go ahead.
But I think that the idea behind it is philanthropic activities, position of leadership, which you can't deny that Gani Adams has filled. So it's left for him to decide whether he believes he can determine his end and the title.
Well, the Alaafin has said that there'll be a press briefing to tell us exactly why he was picked, so the criteria was used to select him as the next area. So moving on now to The Nation. $15.1 billion debts, why government is borrowing by minister. Police Evans trained words over cars and cash. Oshibajo, no $25 billion contract awarded by NNPC. And picture here, you can't miss it. YK, the governor, Fela's family members, and other people at the inauguration of the Fela's statue called Liberation, I believe.
Yeah.
So that was pretty interesting.
Alan ran about. I'd like to talk about the headline quickly. Right. The Minister of Finance, Kemi Adeosun, was saying that because the debt ratio of Nigeria is 19% to our GDP, and most developed countries, some of them have 100%, on the average is 60%, that Nigeria is doing, you know, good in terms of the ratio of our debt to our GDP is why we're borrowing. My response to her will be our debt ratio to our income is also 66%. And also this GDP she's talking about, what's the tax payment ratio in comparison?
I'll quickly want to jump in here to say it's not a problem borrowing, but I would like the finance minister to come out and tell us how much exactly since 2015 have they borrowed, and what are the infrastructural development that can be recorded with those monies.
Accountability, pretty much.
That's it.
Pretty much.
Who has the Evans story? Because they're picking out.
Yeah, so there's accusations have been made against the police that while
by Evans' lawyer,
that while they were investigating and searching the properties, some items were discovered missing. A gold chain, a cross pendant valued at $70,000. The shocking part was Mack trucks. They said Mack trucks are like the huge trucks that carry tipper sands and all that. Mack trucks, they're big. And that some of them were also missing. Mentioned how jewelry was stolen, wristwatches, televisions were stolen. As in, this is huge. However, I wanted to say that the media was heavily present during this
and they told us how many jewelry they found in his house at the time.
Yeah,
I don't know how they could have stolen the items.
Moving on now.
Will I sound mean when I say Oligbe? Is that right?
No.
Because we're not sure whether
they don't know yet. They're just allegations.
Two wrongs don't make it right.
Yeah, and lawyer is just making his allegations. You could just.
What
if it's the lawyer that also does something?
I knew my thoughts weren't right.
Moving on to Daily Sun. Your accidental presidents. That's from ex-speaker Naaba. Hits Buhari, OBJ Jonathan. Wike, Real Madrid finalized plan for football academy. Soldiers to withdraw from Southeast. NNPC $25 billion contracts. Buhari's integrity at stake, U.S. intelligence experts. Evans' lawyer, police tango over assets, and Anambra poll, Oni of Ife, Ikija community endorses Obiano.
So can we take the major headline?
And all of us have the story.
Yeah, because we were all interested in the fact that the first speaker of this of the National Assembly in 1999, Galium Manaba, is mentioning that all the presidents we've had since 1999, listing the names about Obasanjo, Yar'Adua, Jonathan, and even our current president Buhari, were accidental, that they might have had aspirations towards it, but they were not properly, according to him, they were not prepared for leadership position which they got to occupy. And he mentioned this while he was speaking at the matriculation of the Nigerian Institute of Legislative Studies. I didn't know there was something like that, but that they were not prepared for that position.
And that reminded me of what Mrs. Abiola said, that Ambode was prepared for a leader. Remember that event we went to? So when somebody is not prepared, and you can see that the results are different.
So you might aspire for something.
The president says that the president is very, very much prepared. Someone cannot look for a position for 3 times and got it the 4th time and is not prepared.
Right, I disagree with that one, but hey, we'll leave it.
Yeah. Who read the story about the $25 billion contracts?
Yes. The president came out to say yesterday that $25 billion contract, there was nothing like that. And that kind of money
missing
is also not missing. And they said a lot of things with paper the paper, and which I'm realizing that all this talk of contract and everything.
They're reiterating their denial of that. There's no such thing as the allegations made by Minister of State for Petroleum, Kachuku, and saying that there's no such money missing. But nobody has talked about the insubordination that Kachuku also complained about. No one has also mentioned the 65 billion or thereabout millions that was not remitted to the TSA and the lopsided appointments in the NNPC. And all the back and forth about who signed which loan or which contract, nobody has really clarified.
And
let's move on now to the Nigerian Tribune. Outrage over Okorocha's statue for Zuma. Nigerians must tolerate more debts for federal government to deliver, says Adeosun. State House Clinic receives only 33% capital allocation in 2 years, says Presidency. $25 billion NNPC money not missing, says Oshimbajo. Bailout funds to state illegal, says Tukur ex-RMAFC chairman. Buhari's directive to World Bank sectional, says Southern leaders. Ogoni cleanup Rivers community sues Kachuku. Baruch Shell 65 billion naira damages. Federal government okays trial of judge over 200 million naira bribe allegation. Yes, Zuma.
Okay.
Was in Nigeria.
He came to Nigeria on Friday. And good for us, they signed a memorandum of understanding in the education sector that we need to groom children to become leaders.
Let's get to the cocoa of the matter.
Yesterday, he unveiled, the governor and Zuma unveiled a statue of Zuma.
You didn't tell us which state.
In Imo State.
God bless you.
The governor of Imo State unveiled a statue of Jacob Zuma, the president of South Africa, who is been convicted of corruption charges and been told to refund.
And they've tried to kick him out 3 times.
He's been convicted.
They said now that they can now take up the matter of 768,
which is meant to refund
corruption allegations.
Remember that this governor also is owing salaries. Nigerian Tribune. Outrage over Okorocha's statue for Zuma. Nigerians must tolerate more debts for federal government to deliver, says Adeosun. State House Clinic receives only 33% capital allocation in 2 years, says Presidency. $25 billion NNPC money not missing, says Oshimbajo. Bailout funds to state illegal, says Tukur ex-RMAFC chairman. Buhari's directive to World Bank sectional, says Southern leaders. Ogoni cleanup Rivers community sues Kachuku. Baruch Shell 65 billion naira damages. Federal government okays trial of judge over 200 million naira bribe allegation. Yes, Zuma.
Okay.
Was in Nigeria.
He came to Nigeria on Friday, and good for us, they signed a memorandum of understanding in the education sector that we need to groom children to become leaders.
Let's get to the cocoa of the matter.
Then yesterday, he unveiled, the governor and Zuma unveiled a statue of Zuma.
You didn't tell us which state.
In Imo State.
God bless you.
The governor of Imo State unveiled a statue of Jacob Zuma, the president of South Africa, who is been convicted of corruption charges and been told to refund.
And they've tried to kick him out 3 times.
He's been convicted.
They said now that they can now take up the matter of 768,
which is meant to refund
corruption allegations.
Remember that this governor also is owing salaries, pensions, also,
and he had the funds to build.
And he just demolished the market, and people who displaced are still not sorted.
And there's a conspiracy theory that maybe the governor is looking to run away to South Africa after his tenure, and he's robbing
his brothers in South Africa. Please don't kill our people again. We'll give you a statue in Nigeria.
Which Zuma mentioned.
But that's Zuma. But Zuma doesn't have control over that one.
All right, we have to run off now. Unfortunately, we can't take any more papers. Let's take a break. When we come back, our hot topic, U.S. rejects Nigeria's yam. Later, we discuss food crisis in Nigeria. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So recently, Nigeria exported yams to China, United Kingdom, U.S. as part of efforts to reduce dependence on oil and increase income from the agricultural sector. Very good. The report has it that 72 tons of yam that left the shore of Nigeria to the United States were rejected,
yes,
due to poor quality. However, the federal government said it would not relent in its yam export policy, which is aimed at attracting foreign exchange for the country.
Hallelujah.
What are your thoughts on this? Also, tweet us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag your TVC so you can read your tweets.
72,000 kilograms. 72,000 kilograms.
Right.
It's a lot of yam.
Okay.
It's a lot of yam.
I remember June 29, when we were reading in the paper, when the Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Aldugbe, was celebrating with a lot of pomp and pageantry that Nigeria was going to be exporting yams now as we're trying to diversify our economy from being oil dependent to exporting yam, because Nigeria produces 67% of the yam consumed in the world. And they realized that the world market for yams are $12 billion. So the minister said that in the next 4 years, Nigeria should be earning about $10 billion of this world market.
Of this 12 billion?
Yes, if we start exporting yam. And he looked at our brothers in Ghana, how they're earning so much money that is projected that by 2018, Ghana will be making $5 billion from exporting yam. But when the US now rejected our yam and said they were rotting.
Pause for a second. We that were sending the yam, did we not contact the people over there that they are going to receive the yam? Do you take this yam or you don't take this yam?
Let me quickly
or you just did this carry to the ports of US?
Let me finish, right?
Okay, please let me
so
understand.
when the US now rejected our yam,
yes.
No, we ain't taking no rotten yams. Please take them back. 72 tons of yam. The minister now said that is not going to deter us from exporting yam, said that it's not the government to blame, that they were private companies, and he named them, that exported the yam. Go ahead.
So it was a good thing. It was a good thing. It's a good thing for us to benchmark ourselves with our junior brother Ghana, because in supposedly they are our junior brother, and we should actually be the ones setting examples on how to go forward. So we can benchmark and say they have a good plan, but it will be very, very retrogressive of us to jump into a process without adequately preparing. And
do you think the federal government would do that without preparing?
Okay, now, the UK complained that the level of pesticides in our yam export was too high, and they don't take those kind of things, so they did not buy it. The US said it was already getting rotten, so they rejected it, and this was yam exported in June this year. So my issue is, it's a good thing for us to plan how we're going to move into agriculture. That's his job as the Minister for Agriculture. But the right thing to do is to properly process the plan and come up with a strategy on how to make money from this thing, not just to copy and jump into something inadequate.
I have an illustration here. When a child wants to start to walk,
what does he do? He crawls.
And he falls. For heaven's sake, this is an initiative that we should appreciate and applaud. And now it has started. Definitely it's going to get better. You should not just bring it down. I like his spirit. We are not going to relent. We will keep exporting until
so you keep exporting bad yams until you get
not bad yams. But what I expected him to say is not to come out and say, oh, everybody said that we are exporting yams, should stop talking about it, we'll continue. To say, okay, we've made mistakes.
This is where the problem was.
And we are making sure that we block every loophole.
Processes.
But it is not a bad idea, because the truth is, diversifying an economy starts from somewhere. And we have to use something that we are very, very good at to start it.
Which is agriculture.
So today is World Food Day, and the idea is to increase we as a country are not sufficiently consuming affordable yam. And when there's a problem like that, we have not fed ourselves completely.
Because in that time,
that's my issue. Because
what is affordable yam?
When after that export, yam price shot up ridiculously.
Exactly.
And we all felt it.
Yes.
Because it means that you were depleting the nation to get forests.
I drove around, I didn't find yam. For during that period,
very true.
There was no yam. Let me let you go in. Come in here.
No, I was just going to pick up on our point on affordable yam and government role. But you're right, because at the end of the day, the people who farm yam are in it to make money.
Yes.
So if I find out that if I sell to Jumoke, who wants to export, Jumoke will buy it from me from 2,000 naira.
Yes.
But you that you want to eat yam, you will price it to 200.
Yes.
It is in my interest.
So pay to sell
So
it
the government's policy.
So then it's now to figure out how to ensure that Nigerians can afford to buy enough yam for Nigerians in addition to exporting.
The Minister for Agriculture to start farming yam or for the government to go into farming. It is to have policies and structure and processes to ensure that we can feed ourselves and then make money from export.
Happening on policies. So when the minister accused the companies who exported the rotten yam, they came back, and one Mr. Adeniji said to him, this is solely the fault of the government. First, our quarantine at the ports is 1959 resolute, meaning that it's not even 2000. What are we in 21st century?
Compliance.
It's not even 21st century.
That's
58
years
ago. Yeah. That if you want to start to export, it's not to just come and organize a party and say company A, B, C are exporting. First, make sure that people start to farm enough yam for us to consume internally and enough to export. Secondly, make sure that our ports, they were saying that they don't have refrigerated containers to export the yam.
Processes.
So, and you expect that yam that is on the high seas for 3 months will not spoil.
Let me take this call from our...
Kunle is my name. I'm calling from Abuja. I'm a first-time caller.
Welcome.
Hello.
Yeah, I love our discussion this morning. Yeah, but I want to quickly bring out some salient points here. It is not the federal government that did the exportation of yam. They are private individuals. Yeah. What the federal government was deliberating then was Nigeria is now able to individually export yam. Now, it's a process. I like what one of your contributors said this morning. Please, we need to understand that there are a lot of things involved in export. There are a lot of channels. There are a lot of parties. The farmer is there. Then we have the exporter. We have the shipping company. And it takes a period period of time.
Now
is a first attempt. I don't want us to condemn Nigeria.
Okay.
What is
I want us
condemning
to commend the government of Nigeria. What they are doing is wonderful. When we get there,
we start with baby steps. Thank you very much.
A stitch in time saves 9. And when you spoil your reputation, it will take you much more effort to build it back. So right now, according to them, Nigerian yam, oh no, pesticides issues and all that. But if we had planned adequately, we didn't need to export yam in 2017. We could actually plan and effectively put the upgrade our quarantine system. Exactly. We could have planned the container. We could have planned it and export in 2 years. However, when we jump ahead and do things, it's as if you're not ready to walk.
The cart before the
you're not ready. Yes.
So you know what?
Sorry,
I don't know. No, I was just going to say that even this refrigerated container issue, even internal transportation of foods, that's also a problem on the rail lines that we don't preserve. That's the word. That we don't even have those things ready internally to get stuff from Jos to Lagos, much less abroad.
Sometimes loopholes are detected when things are done.
No, I'm sorry.
I'm
sorry. On this one, this basic thing. These are basic things.
I'm not sure the federal government or the companies came out to say we are going to export these yams and we are going to fail. Nobody wants to fail in any
risk analysis.
So now definitely some things went wrong, and they've seen it, and they're going to definitely cover
it. Risk assessment.
At whose cost?
Please, on the October 12th, a member of the House of Representatives for Nigeria, representing Nasarawa, Gaza Jonathan, said that the federal government broke the law by exporting yam. The export is prohibited under the Export Prohibition Act. He mentioned that list of things that are prohibited from being exported include beans, cassava tuber, maize, rice, yam. And somebody is now saying that this representative was wrong. So I'm wondering that everybody must be carried along. The government must work together. The machineries are meant to work together to ensure that it's efficient. When there is a gap in communication,
we have to round up. Let's take this last call. Sam, are you there?
Yeah.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah. I'm very happy you are discussing this topic. Export is good, but when you want to export, you have to find out the conditionality of the country that are taking your agricultural products. Nigerians predominantly are grown with chemical fertilizer. Even we that are here, when we buy them in the market, if you don't consume it on time, it will be rotten. But also be exporting yams that we are exported in Europe, in America, we have to use organic fertilizer. Something that is taken from the soil and given back to the soil. Such products will be of high quality. And I think this is the role of government to disseminate that information.
Thank you very much, Sam.
Thank you. I have one.
So may I take to it? Okay. Eric Chaik says, this brings to question the quality of our agri graduates and research institutes. The institute should be proactive. Last one. Oh, Eric Chaik again says, just when we had the opportunity to showcase our agricultural export potentials, our mediocrity reigned again. Very sad.
It reminds me of the soft drink that somebody took abroad. Remember and then they returned it back. No, this is not our own standard.
It's okay for consumption in Nigeria, not for our human beings in this country.
All right, that's all we can take on Hot Topic. When we come back, food crisis in Nigeria. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So when a nation is unable to produce enough food to feed its population and the need to import food at exorbitant prices arises, it's said to be experiencing food crisis. The commemoration of the World Food Day, our guests will enlighten us on how the federal government can eradicate and curb food shortage in Nigeria. Joining us on the show is a special advisor to the governor of Lagos State on food security, Sonny Okonlawo. Welcome to the show, sir.
Again.
Thank you very much.
Also tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag YourViewTVC so we can read your tweet. So before we go into advice, giving points on how the government generally can eradicate food crisis, what are your thoughts on this issue of the yam? The fact that I know, as Esther has said, it was a laudable project, but unfortunately it didn't end well. What would you have advised that should have been done better?
Well, it's a good initiative. You must applaud that first, that we are moving away from the failing petrodollar and diversifying into agriculture.
Yes.
It's a good one. But in doing it, we must plan very well. What you have just seen happening is, as a result of poor planning. So whatever you want to lay your hands upon, you must plan and plan very well. It's as a result of poor storage facility, as a result of poor handling,
poor transportation facilities.
That is key.
Everything was poor.
You see, the residue of pesticides in our products in the yam is not tolerable for consumption over there, and nobody will accept it.
So
these are issues.
So, sir, when people, yes, so that was the worrisome part for me, because I look at it that suddenly the National Assembly has sent for the company that had issues with production, Coke and Fanta issues that were exported, that they found out that the substance there wasn't good enough for them there, but we've been consuming it for years here.
Unfortunately.
Nigeria.
And same thing with the yam. When they exported our beans, the level of pesticide was not acceptable in UK. When they exported our yam, pesticide, but we consume these things daily. So what are we doing to maintain standards?
Who even determines the standards in our own?
NAFDAC. How are we going to hold them responsible for what we're consuming and the fact that it's not up to par?
And that boils down to the fact that everybody, all hands must be on deck. Those who are setting the standards, those who are implementing, those who are enforcing, we must all be above board. And the idea of cutting corners, the issues bedeviling, production, the issues bedeviling, the agricultural, sector delivery. So what you have seen is people are cutting corners here and there. If everybody had done due diligence, play your own part, we wouldn't have been experiencing such.
Okay, so I see your T-shirt, World Bank and Lagos State Government. So this partnership, is it for food security in Lagos State? First question.
Absolutely.
Follow-up question would be that the government of Lagos State keeps on complaining about the influx of people. So we're planning for 20 million people for 2017. By the time your plans come to 4, you realize that you have 25 million because everybody from every other state, they are running to Lagos where things are secure. How are we,
feeding these people?
It's an issue. It's not only affecting Lagos. It's an issue that even the FAO, Food and Agricultural Organization, is tackling. Even the theme of this year's World Food Day is changing migration, the future of migration. And, investing in rural development and food security.
Yes.
Okay,
Lagos State population is about 23 million naira. We're still counting. The population is increasing exponentially. And already, from our survey, 1 million people comes into Lagos, and 75% of them stay behind to seek for better livelihood in Lagos. And what we are doing in that space to provide for the teeming populace of Lagos and for those who are coming in is to ensure that we do everything to foster food security. Chief among what we have done is the lake rice thing. In the fullness of time, we'll be able to sustain, and guarantee an all-year-round rice production.
I must commend the state government, Lagos State government, for all they've been doing about food. But if you look at the prices of food in other states, and that of Lagos is like two margins away. So the cost is too much in Lagos. So what is the government doing to try to bring down the prices of food? Because not everybody can afford it.
To have actual pricing, so that it's not what we have right now seems like speculation. Actual pricing. So if you buy something for 600 naira in Ibadan, you come and sell it for 6,000 naira or like 3,000 naira in Lagos.
Lagos.
It's because of issues. If from Ibadan to Lagos, you go through a lot of processing, transportation, middlemen are in between, and that's, leads to skyrocket in the prices.
But sometimes they are exorbitantly too high that even those things you think they are putting profits on, and even too much.
One of the issues we have, and it's been confirmed, that 70% of our food gets rotten.
70?
Yes, tomatoes. I read this research about 2 years ago. I'm sure I don't think there's been anything specifically different being done between that time and now. That our tomatoes land and a large percent of them gets rotten. So what is Lagos State doing? Because if you go to My 12 here, or you go to Ojota, Ketu, you will see that there's a heap
baskets
of foods that it goes rotten. And I don't expect Lagos State to start doing that, but how are you partnering with private citizens to ensure that we have less food wastage so that we can properly feed ourselves? Because that's the part of the margin that people calculate.
Preservation.
Yes. Preservation. You see, that speaks to preservation, storage issues.
What are your plans?
In Lagos, like I said, we are importing a 32 metric tons per hour rice processing mill. It comes with a 20,000 silos, 20,000 metric ton silos. So it helps in preserving our food, in storing our foods. And again, this is an area of business for the private investors. As a government, we are not doers. We are not supposed to be doers.
Yes.
We are enablers, we are regulators, we are facilitators.
Yes.
Okay, but in some cases, the government just has to intervene and act as a growth catalyst. And that we have done in the area of the rice.
Yes. And let me come back to this growth catalyst thing you mentioned, because the federal government is saying we want to diversify, we want to go into agriculture. Everybody hears agriculture, but there hasn't really been an idiot-proof process to getting the young people, even to employing them to get into that project. What is Lagos State doing to make it so easy for somebody like Esther to wake up tomorrow and say, you know what, I want to go into farmers. What's the first process? What are you doing to help? Let us see the blueprint, at least in Lagos State.
Chief among what we have put in place is capacity building. If you are going to a business, you must be well trained and be well baked.
Okay.
So we have an agricultural development authority in Okoba, where we build capacity in people. We train you in any of the agricultural value chain that you want to go into. We have professionals there.
So after you've been trained, you now select what you want.
Yes. You tell us the area of the agricultural value chain. They will give you the adequate training. Okay. Afterwards, if you need land, what we are doing in that space is to acquire land.
Okay.
We have land all over Lagos.
Right.
We will allocate land to you. And because land is gold in Lagos, 1/50 of Lagos is wetland. So you hardly have land. So we're now going to other states. In Ogun State, Oyo, Osun, Ondo, and Ekiti. We're also doing, that speaks to what we are doing, this agricultural economic integration that we are doing.
Right.
That partnership is ongoing now.
Fantastic.
I have gone through, because I was saddled with responsibility by His Excellency, the Governor of Lagos. I've gone to the southwestern states to seek for land, to grow, to produce rice that will feed our meal that will be delivered maybe in the next 10, 11 months.
Okay.
So people who wanted land will be given land, even our young graduates that are interested in agriculture, because 32,000 farmland is required to feed our meal, where we'll be growing another 32,000 metric tons of rice.
Right.
You see?
Okay. So if I'm interested now, you post me to Osun State, if that's the land allocated to me, Abi?
If you don't mind.
Okay.
It's about feeding yourself. Building is about having something doing.
Okay.
Yes. Okay.
So you mentioned the theme for the World Food Day today, which is change the future of migration, invest in food security and rural development. What's the Lagos State government doing in that regard?
you know, people are 763 million people are migrating, even within the domestic borders, from Ogun to Lagos, from Oyo to Sokoto and there. 244 are migrating, you know, on international borders. And Lagos State is not left out of it. In Lagos, like I said, 23 million, we're still counting. People keep migrating on a daily basis. I just said 750,000 people come into Lagos and stay behind to seek for livelihood.
All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Development.
Thanks for staying with us. So I think, was it Esther?
Yeah, the last time we had a guest that talked about investment, industrialization, he said some of the things that affect Nigeria is that we don't focus on one particular thing. If the federal government is to focus on a particular product that we want to export, build to make sure that that diversification is multiplied, what would that be in your own thinking?
It's a good one if you try to, you know, make yourself available or do something. That is to say, one product. If you can take up a product and focus on it.
I think Lagos has taken up rice.
Yes,
rice.
in the case of Lagos,
Rice.
We have 3 thematic areas that we're looking at: rice value chain development, red meat value chain development, and the fruity vegetables. The idea is, once we are able to put rice on the table, you are able to put fruity vegetables like pepper, tomato, and onions, and the meat itself, the beef. Then you already have food on the table. So that's our focus, and that's why we're taking up 32,000 hectares of land all over the southwestern states.
Let me take this call from Chidi. Chidi, are you there?
Morayo, I've been trying to get this line. You see, the problem we have in Nigeria today is packaging of that what we want to give to the outside world. Right. That is number one. Number two, we are hungry in Nigeria, and somebody is carrying away something to America. You have not feed your people. Those people, they are looking at you. They are here. They are seeing what you are doing. So they can't allow you to bring those things into their house, into their domot. That is a problem in Nigeria. Another one is the politics they play. The government plays politics in everything. If a private sector wants to bring a good thing that will sell in the market, the government will play politics on it. They will not allow them to that thing to sell. So how can a private person or individual want to put in his or her hard-earned money to do a business that is not profiting?
All right.
And so we need to deal.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Judy.
So good point.
I have 2 questions. One, rural development. We see developed worlds, because they want reduced migration to their community. They invest so much money in giving aid to
farmers,
poor areas, so that to poor countries, so that if you have money, there's aid in your place, you will not come and say you want refuge in my place. They will try and reduce war in such areas, because they know that if you have, you will not come to me. Lagos State, what are the proactive moves you are doing in compliance with this year's theme for World Food Day to develop rural areas so that they will not come to Lagos, because you need to prevent them from coming by ensuring they have what they need over there?
That's a federal government question you are asking.
No, but Lagos is able to deal with this.
Lagos is the big brother in Southwest, honey.
It's crystal clear. You can see it, that we're doing it. We are doing rural development and urban renewal in Lagos. Go to Ekpe, see massive development, infrastructure development going on there. Go to Badagry. You see bridges, you see roads. You know, we are making access to the farmlands everywhere. In Ekpe, we have what we call Agri-Cares, Agri-Youth Empowerment Scheme. We built infrastructures there. We have about 300 two-bedroom units of flats there, where we house the young graduates, the youths and women who are interested in farming. We train them. After training, we empower.
Nice.
So they can stay there.
Yes, in Araga.
Well done,
in Araga, if you go there, we walk the talk, we don't just talk.
Fantastic.
If you go to Araga in Ekpe, you see they are walking.
Let's take this call from Alaji Subara. Are you there?
Yes, yes, Morai, I'm here.
Go ahead, please.
Right. You see, the issue of exporting yam to America, in fact, is nonsense, and I condemn it in totality. Look, for instance, Morayo, you give an example. If somebody is selling a yam for 2,000, somebody is now selling to a local person 500 naira. The yam farmer will sell to 2,000, and it's going to be on the detriment of Nigeria. So I condemn it in totality. So you see, we are not fair. Look at the tube of yam. How much did it cost? So you see, if federal government wanted to, the Minister of Agri came out and talked that they want to be exporting. If they want to do that, they should do it on their own, not that. What they did is on the detriment of the masses. Mr. Honorable Commissioner, please, I'm appealing to you. I'm appealing to you that the issue of expecting tomato and cow from the north, what is the Westerner doing? If there's no tomato in this, what are they doing so that we can have enough tomato and cow in this western region?
All right, thank you very much. Good question.
I just mentioned now that we have a plan. We have 3 thematic areas that the governor has handed over to us. Fruity vegetables. That's to talk about tomato, pepper, and onion. Yes. And the red meat value chain. In Lagos, you consume 6,000 heads of cow every day. And suppose there is a blockage from the north. What happened? Do we die of hunger in Lagos? No. So we are proactive, we are planning, we are working towards it. We are taking up a purpose-built cattle farm in Oyo now, where we will do some kind of...
Fantastic. I have just one quick question. Level of pesticides and GMOs. Who is monitoring to ensure that we don't have a lot of pesticides in the ones we are consuming that are producing and GMO?
It's the work of Standard Organization of Nigeria, even the Food and Drug, the NAFDAC. These are things they are supposed to be doing.
Okay. In agreeing with you, I was just quickly going to say that the federal government ought to focus on policies and standards and qualities and moving our quarantine from 1959 to 2017 and having containerized containers that can help us to export, because it's for private individuals and companies to do these businesses, not for the government. Just put the policy and the infrastructure on ground and people will do it.
Unfortunately, we have to round up. Thank you very much, sir. We have to round up.
I just say happy World Food Day to everybody.
All right, so once again, it's World Food Day. Try to make a meal for somebody who is less privileged or somebody who hasn't had a proper meal. Rice, meat, and the fruity vegetables, as Oga said. Have a fabulous day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.